The morning sun was just starting to shine through the tall windows of the Royal Security Building. Captain Marcus Thornfield walked down the long hallway with quick steps. His black boots made soft sounds on the marble floor. He had been called to an urgent meeting and he did not like to be late. Marcus was 35 years old and had worked as a royal guard for 12 years. He was tall and strong, with short brown hair and serious green eyes. Other guards respected him because he always did his job well. He never asked too many questions and always followed orders. The meeting room was at the end of the hallway. Marcus knocked on the heavy wooden door and heard a voice say, "Come in." He opened the door and stepped inside. The room was dark except for a lamp on a big desk. Behind the desk sat Commander Williams, the head of the Royal Security Division. "Sit down, Captain," Commander Williams said. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. Marcus sat in the chair across from the desk and waited. "I have a special job for you," the commander began. He picked up a thin folder from his desk. "This is about Lady Camilla Hartwell. Do you know who she is?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, sir. She is from one of the old noble families. Her father was a lord, and she has a lot of money and power." "That's right," Commander Williams said. He opened the folder and looked at some papers inside. "We have received some reports that worry us. Someone might be planning to hurt Lady Camilla. We are not sure if these reports are true, but we cannot take any risks." The commander handed Marcus a photograph. It showed a woman in her early 40s with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was wearing expensive clothes and jewelry. She looked like she had never worked hard in her life. "This is Lady Camilla," the commander said. "She lives in Hartwell Manor, about 20 miles from here. It is a big house with many rooms and servants. We need someone to check her security." Marcus looked at the photograph. "What kind of threats, sir?" "We are not sure yet," the commander replied. "The reports are not very clear. Someone called our office last week and said they heard people talking about hurting her. Another person sent us a letter with no name on it. The letter said Lady Camilla was in danger." The commander took out more papers from the folder. "Your job is to do security checks of her private rooms. You will go to her house when she is not there. Look for anything strange. Check if someone has been in her rooms without permission. Look for hidden cameras or listening devices. Make sure her windows and doors are secure." Marcus took the papers and looked at them. There were maps of Hartwell Manor and schedules of Lady Camilla's daily activities. "When does she leave her house?" he asked. "She goes out almost every day," the commander said. "She attends charity meetings, visits friends, goes shopping, and goes to social events. Sometimes she is gone for just a few hours. Other times she stays out all day and into the evening." The commander pointed to a schedule on one of the papers. "Here you can see her activities for this week. Today she will be at a charity lunch from noon until 4 in the afternoon. Tomorrow she has a meeting with her lawyer at 10 in the morning, then shopping with friends. The day after that, she will visit her sister in the next town." Marcus studied the schedule carefully. It looked very detailed. Every hour of Lady Camilla's day seemed to be planned out. "Who made this schedule?" he asked. "Her personal assistant, Miss Sarah Jenkins," the commander replied. "She has worked for Lady Camilla for 5 years. We have checked her background and she seems trustworthy." The household staff also helped provide information about Lady Camilla's routine. The commander leaned forward in his chair. "This job must be kept very secret, Captain. Lady Camilla does not know about the threats. We do not want to scare her or make her change her daily life. If she knew about this, she might act differently, and that could make our job harder." Marcus nodded. "I understand, sir. When do I start?" "Today," the commander said. "Lady Camilla will leave for her charity lunch at 11:30. You should arrive at the manor at 12 o'clock. The head butler, Mr. Peterson, knows you are coming. He has been told you are doing a routine security inspection. He will show you to Lady Camilla's private rooms." The commander closed the folder and looked directly at Marcus. "I chose you for this job because you are careful and you notice details. If there really is someone planning to hurt Lady Camilla, we need to find out before anything bad happens." Marcus stood up and took the folder. "How long will this assignment last?" "As long as it takes," the commander replied. "Maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks. Keep doing the security checks until we are sure Lady Camilla is safe. Report to me every evening about what you find." As Marcus walked to the door, the commander called after him. "Captain, be very careful. If someone is really planning something bad, they might be watching the manor. Do not let anyone see you who should not see you." Marcus left the building and walked to his car. He put the folder on the passenger seat and started the engine. As he drove toward Hartwell Manor, he thought about his new assignment. Something about it felt different from his usual work. The threat seemed vague and the information was not very specific. But he had learned not to question his orders too much. The drive to Hartwell Manor took 30 minutes. Marcus had never been to this part of the country before. The roads became smaller and more winding as he got farther from the city. Big trees lined both sides of the road and he could see fields and farms in the distance. When he finally saw Hartwell Manor, Marcus was surprised by how big it was. The house was made of gray stone and had 3 floors. There were many windows and chimneys, and the front door was painted dark blue. A long driveway led from the main road to the house with perfectly cut grass on both sides. Marcus parked his car near the front door and looked at his watch. It was exactly 12 o'clock. Lady Camilla should be at her charity lunch by now. He got out of his car, straightened his uniform, and walked to the front door. This was the beginning of what would turn out to be a very strange and complicated case. 3 weeks had passed since Marcus started his security checks at Hartwell Manor. Every few days he would drive to the big stone house and inspect Lady Camilla's private rooms. The head butler, Mr. Peterson, always let him in and showed him where he needed to go. Mr. Peterson was a thin man in his 60s with white hair and a serious face. He wore a black suit every day and spoke in a quiet, polite voice. He never asked Marcus many questions about his work, which Marcus appreciated. "Lady Camilla is at the museum today," Mr. Peterson would say. "She will not return until evening. You may do your inspection now." Marcus had become familiar with the layout of Hartwell Manor. Lady Camilla's bedroom was on the 2nd floor, along with her private sitting room and her personal office. The rooms were decorated with expensive furniture, paintings, and carpets. Everything looked perfect, as if no one really lived there. During his inspections, Marcus checked the windows and doors for signs that someone had tried to break in. He looked behind furniture and under beds for hidden devices. He examined the walls for holes where someone might have put cameras or microphones. So far, he had found nothing suspicious. But as the weeks went by, Marcus started to notice things that did not make sense. The first strange thing was about Lady Camilla's schedule. Miss Sarah Jenkins, her personal assistant, had given him detailed schedules every week. But when Marcus talked to the household staff, their stories did not always match the schedule. For example, last Tuesday the schedule said Lady Camilla was at a book club meeting from 2 until 5 in the afternoon. But when Marcus asked the cook about lunch, she said she had prepared Lady Camilla's favorite sandwich at 3 o'clock because she was hungry when she came back early from her meeting. Another time, the schedule said Lady Camilla was shopping in the city all day Saturday. But the gardener told Marcus he had seen her car in the driveway at noon, and the maid said she had cleaned Lady Camilla's bedroom in the afternoon while she was taking a bath. Marcus began to write down these differences in his notebook. At first he thought maybe Miss Jenkins was making mistakes with the schedule, or maybe Lady Camilla sometimes changed her plans and forgot to tell her assistant. But the differences happened too often. Almost every week there was something that did not match. Marcus decided to pay closer attention to what the household staff said about Lady Camilla's activities. The cook, Mrs. Brown, was a friendly woman who had worked at the manor for 8 years. She liked to talk while she prepared meals. One day, while Marcus was checking the kitchen area, she told him something interesting. "Lady Camilla has been acting different lately," Mrs. Brown said as she chopped vegetables. "She used to eat breakfast with me every morning at 8 o'clock. We would talk about her plans for the day, but now sometimes she does not come down for breakfast at all. When I ask her where she was, she says she was not hungry or she ate something in her room." Marcus asked, "How long has this been happening?" "About 2 months now," Mrs. Brown replied. "And another thing, she used to tell me exactly what time she would be back for dinner. Now she often calls and says she will be late, or she will not be home for dinner at all. It makes it hard for me to plan the meals." The head maid, Alice, also noticed changes. She was a young woman who had worked at the manor for 3 years. She cleaned Lady Camilla's private rooms and took care of her clothes. "Lady Camilla has been asking me to clean her rooms at different times," Alice told Marcus one afternoon. "Before, she always wanted me to clean in the morning when she was out. Now she sometimes asks me to come back in the evening, or she tells me not to clean certain days because she will be home." Marcus found this information very interesting. Does she say why she changed her mind? No, she just says her plans are different, Alice said. But I have noticed something else. Sometimes when I clean her bedroom, I find 2 coffee cups on the table by the window. Lady Camilla does not usually drink coffee in her bedroom. She drinks tea in the sitting room downstairs. That evening, Marcus sat in his apartment and reviewed his notes. He had written down many small details that seemed strange. Lady Camilla's actual activities did not match her official schedule. The household staff noticed changes in her behavior. There were signs that she might be meeting someone in her private rooms. Marcus thought about what this could mean. Maybe Lady Camilla was having secret meetings with someone. But why would she need to be secretive? She was a grown woman who could meet with anyone she wanted. Or maybe someone was visiting her without permission, and she was afraid to tell anyone. This could be related to the threats that Commander Williams had mentioned. Perhaps someone was already getting close to Lady Camilla, and she was too scared to ask for help. The next day, Marcus decided to try a different approach. Instead of just inspecting Lady Camilla's rooms when she was away, he would arrive at the manor earlier and observe the house from a distance. Maybe he could see who was coming and going. He parked his car behind a group of trees about 200 yards from the manor. From there, he could see the front door and the driveway. He brought binoculars to get a better view. At 10 in the morning, he saw Lady Camilla's silver car leave the driveway. According to her schedule, she was going to a meeting with her financial advisor and would not return until afternoon. Marcus waited for an hour, watching the house. Mr. Peterson came out once to collect the mail. A delivery truck brought groceries to the back door. Everything looked normal, but at 12:30, Marcus saw something that surprised him. A black car drove up the driveway and parked near the front door. A man got out of the car. He was tall and wore expensive clothes. Marcus could not see his face clearly from so far away, but the man walked to the front door as if he had been to the house many times before. Mr. Peterson opened the door and let the man inside. This was strange because Lady Camilla was supposed to be away. Why would someone visit when she was not home? And why did Mr. Peterson seem to be expecting him? Marcus watched the house for 2 more hours. The black car stayed in the driveway. At 3 o'clock, the man came out of the house and drove away. 15 minutes later, Lady Camilla's silver car returned. That evening, Marcus called Commander Williams to report what he had seen. A man visited the house while Lady Camilla was away? The commander asked. Did you recognize him? No, sir, Marcus replied. I was too far away to see his face clearly. But he seemed to know the house well, and the butler let him in without any hesitation. Commander Williams was quiet for a moment. This is interesting, Captain. Keep watching the house. Try to find out who this man is and why he was there. Maybe this is connected to the threats against Lady Camilla. After Marcus hung up the phone, he realized his assignment was becoming much more complicated than he had expected. What had started as a simple security inspection was turning into a real investigation. And he had a feeling that he was only beginning to discover the truth about what was happening at Hartwell Manor. Marcus had been watching Hartwell Manor for 2 more weeks. He had seen the black car come to the house 3 more times. Each time, the same tall man got out and went inside while Lady Camilla was supposed to be away. Marcus was becoming more curious about who this man was and what he was doing there. On a Thursday morning, Marcus got a new schedule from Miss Jenkins. According to the paper, Lady Camilla would be attending a charity gala at the Grand Hotel in the city from 6 in the evening until midnight. This would give Marcus plenty of time to do a thorough inspection of her rooms. Marcus arrived at Hartwell Manor at 7 o'clock in the evening. The sun was setting and the house looked peaceful in the golden light. He parked his car in the usual spot and walked to the front door. Mr. Peterson answered the door as always. "Good evening, Captain Thornfield," he said in his polite voice. "Lady Camilla left for the gala an hour ago. You may proceed with your inspection." Marcus nodded and followed the butler inside. They walked up the wide staircase to the 2nd floor. The hallway was long and lined with old paintings of Lady Camilla's family members. "I will be in the kitchen if you need anything," Mr. Peterson said. He turned and walked back downstairs, leaving Marcus alone in the hallway. Marcus went to Lady Camilla's bedroom first. The door was closed, which was normal. He turned the handle and pushed the door open. But as soon as he stepped inside, he knew something was wrong. There were voices coming from the sitting area near the window. Marcus stopped and listened carefully. He heard Lady Camilla's voice and then a man's voice answering her. They were speaking quietly, but Marcus could hear them clearly in the silence of the house. Marcus felt confused and worried. Lady Camilla was supposed to be at the charity gala in the city. How could she be in her bedroom? Had her plans changed? Why had Mr. Peterson not told him she was home? He moved quietly toward the door that connected the bedroom to the sitting area. The door was slightly open and he could see part of the room through the gap. Lady Camilla was sitting in a chair by the window. She was wearing a dark blue dress, not the kind of fancy dress she would wear to a gala. Across from her sat the tall man that Marcus had seen arriving in the black car. Now Marcus could see his face clearly for the first time. The man appeared to be in his 50s, with gray hair and sharp features. He wore an expensive dark suit and had the confident manner of someone used to power and money. "We need to be more careful," Lady Camilla was saying. "I think someone might be watching the house. My butler mentioned that security has been checking the manor more often lately." Marcus felt his heart beat faster. They were talking about him and his inspections. The man leaned forward in his chair. "That could be a problem, Camilla. If someone discovers what we are doing, it could ruin everything we have worked for." "I know, Edmund," Lady Camilla replied, "but we are so close to finishing our plan. Just a few more weeks and we will have everything we need." Edmund. Marcus tried to remember if he had heard that name before. It sounded familiar, but he could not place it. "The vote in Parliament is scheduled for next month," Edmund continued. "If we can get just 3 more members to support our side, the new law will pass. And once it passes, both of our companies will make millions of pounds." Marcus realized he was listening to something very serious. These two people were talking about influencing Parliament and making money from new laws. This was not about threats against Lady Camilla. This was about something much bigger. "What about Lord Harrison?" Lady Camilla asked. "Has he agreed to vote with us?" "Not yet," Edmund said. "But I think we can convince him. His daughter needs money for her new business. If we offer to invest in her company, he will vote the way we want." Lady Camilla smiled. "And what about Mrs. Fletcher?" "She has been difficult to persuade." "Mrs. Fletcher has a problem," Edmund replied. "Her son was arrested last month for drunk driving. If we help make that problem disappear, she will be very grateful." Marcus could not believe what he was hearing. These people were bribing members of Parliament to vote for laws that would make them rich. Lady Camilla and this man Edmund were working together to corrupt the government. "We must continue to meet secretly," Lady Camilla said. "No one can know that we are working together. In public, we must still act like we disagree about everything." Edmund nodded. "That is why these meetings are so important. My public reputation depends on people thinking I oppose everything your family stands for, but together we can control much more than we could alone." Marcus began to understand why Lady Camilla's schedule never seemed accurate. She was creating false schedules to hide her secret meetings with Edmund. Miss Jenkins, her assistant, was probably helping by giving everyone fake information about where Lady Camilla would be. "What about the security inspections?" Edmund asked. "Should we be worried?" Lady Camilla shook her head. "I do not think so. My butler says it is just routine security checks. They probably do this for all the noble families. As long as we are careful about when we meet, there should be no problem." Marcus realized he needed to get more information about Edmund. He needed to know his full name and what kind of business he was involved in. This information could be very important for his report to Commander Williams. "The papers for the offshore company are ready," Edmund was saying. "Once the law passes, we can move our profits through the company in the Cayman Islands. The government will never be able to track the money." "Perfect," Lady Camilla said. "How much do you think we will make in the first year?" "At least 50 million pounds, Edmund replied. "Maybe more, depending on how quickly we can get the contracts." Marcus had heard enough. He needed to leave the room before they discovered him. He began to move quietly back toward the bedroom door. But as he stepped backward, his foot hit a small table that he had not seen in the dim light. The table made a soft scraping sound as it moved across the floor. Marcus froze and held his breath. Had they heard the noise? What was that? Lady Camilla asked. Marcus could hear the worry in her voice. "I do not know," Edmund replied. "Maybe something fell downstairs." Marcus waited for a few seconds, then continued moving toward the door. He managed to get out of the bedroom without making any more noise. He walked quickly down the hallway to the staircase. As he reached the top of the stairs, he heard footsteps behind him. Someone was coming out of Lady Camilla's room. Marcus walked down the stairs as normally as possible, trying not to look like he was in a hurry. He found Mr. Peterson in the kitchen. just as the butler had said he would be. "Finished with your inspection, Captain?" Mr. Peterson asked. "Yes, thank you," Marcus replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Everything looked secure. As Marcus drove away from Hartwell Manor, his mind was racing. He had stumbled onto something much bigger than threats against Lady Camilla. She was not a victim. She was part of a conspiracy to corrupt Parliament and make illegal profits. But who was Edmund? And how many other people were involved in this plan? Marcus knew he had a lot of investigating to do before he reported to Commander Williams. This case was about to become much more dangerous and complicated than anyone had expected. Marcus spent the entire night thinking about what he had heard in Lady Camilla's room. He could not sleep because his mind kept going over the conversation between Lady Camilla and the man called Edmund. They were planning to bribe members of Parliament to vote for laws that would make them rich. This was serious criminal activity. The next morning, Marcus decided he needed to find out more about Edmund before he reported anything to Commander Williams. He needed to know Edmund's full name, what kind of business he owned, and how he was connected to Lady Camilla. Marcus went to the public library in town and used one of their computers to search for information. He started by looking up noble families and wealthy business owners with the name Edmund. After 2 hours of searching, he found what he was looking for. Lord Edmund Blackwood was the owner of Blackwood Industries, a large company that built roads and bridges for the government. He was 53 years old and had been in business for 20 years. His company had contracts worth millions of pounds with the government. But the most interesting thing Marcus discovered was that Lord Blackwood was supposed to be an enemy of Lady Camilla's family. For the past 5 years, newspapers had written many stories about their public disagreements. Lord Blackwood often spoke against the Hartwell family's business interests. Lady Camilla had given interviews criticizing Lord Blackwood's company practices. Marcus found newspaper articles with headlines like, "Blackwood attacks Hartwell family business," and "Lady Camilla calls Blackwood Industries corrupt." In public, these two people acted like they hated each other, but Marcus had seen them working together in secret. This made their conspiracy even more clever. If anyone suspected that Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood were working together, they would think it was impossible because of their public hatred for each other. Marcus also learned that both Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood had business interests that would benefit from certain changes in government laws. Lady Camilla owned shares in several companies that imported goods from other countries. Lord Blackwood's construction company wanted more government contracts. If they could influence the right laws, both of them would make much more money. After gathering this information, Marcus went to his apartment and wrote detailed notes about everything he had discovered. He wrote down the conversation he had overheard, the names of the Parliament members they mentioned, and the information about their offshore company. But as Marcus wrote his report, he began to feel worried about something else. Commander Williams had given him this assignment because of threats against Lady Camilla. But now Marcus realized that the threats might not be real at all. What if Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood had created fake threats to justify having security guards around the manor? The extra security would make it look normal for people to be watching and protecting Lady Camilla. But really, the security was just a cover story for their secret meetings. Marcus thought about all the strange things that had happened since he started this assignment. The vague reports about threats. The lack of specific information about who might want to hurt Lady Camilla. The detailed schedules that never seemed to match what Lady Camilla was actually doing. The more Marcus thought about it, the more he believed that he had been tricked. Commander Williams probably did not know the truth either. Someone had given false information to the Royal Security Division to make them think Lady Camilla needed protection. Marcus decided to do more investigating before he reported to the commander. He needed to find out who had called the security office to report threats against Lady Camilla. He also wanted to learn more about the Parliament vote that Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood had mentioned. The next day was Saturday. Marcus drove back to Hartwell Manor, but this time he did not go to the house. Instead, he parked behind the trees where he had watched before. He wanted to see if Lord Blackwood would come for another secret meeting. At 11 in the morning, Marcus saw Lady Camilla's silver car leave the driveway. According to her schedule, she was going shopping with friends and would be gone all day. But Marcus had learned not to trust Lady Camilla's schedule. He continued watching the house. At 1 o'clock, the black car arrived. Lord Blackwood got out and went into the house just as he had done before. But this time something different happened. After 30 minutes, Lady Camilla's silver car came back up the driveway. Marcus watched through his binoculars as Lady Camilla got out of her car and went into the house. She was supposed to be shopping in the city, but she was meeting secretly with Lord Blackwood again. Marcus realized that Lady Camilla was leaving the house to make it look like she was following her schedule. Then she would come back secretly for her meetings. Anyone watching the house would think she was away. At 4 o'clock, Lord Blackwood came out of the house and drove away. 10 minutes later, Lady Camilla left in her car again. She would probably go to some public place where people would see her, so she could pretend she had been there all day. Marcus decided to follow Lady Camilla to see where she went. He stayed far behind her car so she would not notice him. She drove to an expensive shopping area in town and parked outside a jewelry store. Marcus watched as Lady Camilla went into the store and talked to the sales clerk. After a few minutes, she came out carrying shopping bags. Then she went to a coffee shop next door. Through the window, Marcus could see her sitting at a table and talking on her phone. Lady Camilla was creating evidence that she had been shopping all afternoon. If anyone asked her what she did that day, she could show them the jewelry she bought and mention the coffee shop where people had seen her. Marcus followed Lady Camilla to 2 more shops. At each place, she bought something small and talked to the workers. She was building an alibi for her afternoon, even though she had actually been at home meeting with Lord Blackwood. That evening, Marcus sat in his car and thought about everything he had learned. Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood were running a very sophisticated conspiracy. They had fake schedules, alibis, and probably fake threats to cover their activities. But Marcus also realized that he was in a dangerous position. If Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood discovered that he knew about their plan, they would try to stop him. They had enough money and power to ruin his career or worse. Marcus also wondered how many other people were involved in the conspiracy. Miss Jenkins, Lady Camilla's assistant, was probably helping by creating false schedules. Mr. Peterson, the butler, seemed to know when to let Lord Blackwood into the house. The cook and maid might not know about the conspiracy, but they had noticed changes in Lady Camilla's behavior. The Parliament members that Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood were bribing were also part of the conspiracy, whether they knew it or not. Lord Harrison, Mrs. Fletcher, and possibly others were being bought with money, business deals, or help with personal problems. Marcus knew he had to be very careful about how he handled this information. If he reported everything to Commander Williams, the investigation might become public. Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood would find out that their conspiracy had been discovered, and they might try to destroy evidence or hurt the people who could testify against them. But if Marcus did not report what he knew, Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood would continue their plan to corrupt Parliament and steal millions of pounds from the government and taxpayers. Marcus decided that he needed to gather more evidence before he made his report. He needed proof that could not be denied or destroyed. He needed to record conversations, take photographs, or find documents that showed exactly what Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood were planning. This meant he would have to take greater risks and get closer to the conspiracy. But Marcus felt it was his duty to expose the truth, no matter how dangerous it became. Marcus knew he needed solid proof of the conspiracy before he could report it to Commander Williams. Words alone would not be enough to convince anyone that Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood were bribing Parliament members and planning to steal millions of pounds. He decided to try to record one of their secret meetings. Marcus had a small recording device that he sometimes used for security work. If he could get close enough to their conversation, he could capture evidence that would prove everything. The problem was getting into the house when they were having their meeting. Marcus could not ask Mr. Peterson to let him in, because the butler would tell Lady Camilla that security had arrived while she was supposed to be away. Marcus spent several days watching the house and studying the building. Hartwell Manor was old, and like many old houses, it had several entrances. There was the main front door, a kitchen door at the back, and a side door that the servants used. Marcus also noticed that some of the windows on the first floor did not look very secure. On Tuesday morning, Marcus saw Lady Camilla leave the house at 10 o'clock. Her schedule said she would be at a business meeting until late afternoon. Marcus positioned himself behind the trees and waited to see if Lord Blackwood would come. At noon, the black car arrived as expected. Lord Blackwood went into the house through the front door. Marcus waited 15 minutes, then drove his car to a small road behind the manor. He parked where his car could not be seen from the house. Marcus walked through the woods to the back of the manor. He had studied this area before and knew there was a servant's entrance that was usually not locked during the day. The door was hidden behind some large bushes, so no one could see it from the main part of the house. Marcus tried the door handle carefully. It turned and the door opened quietly. He stepped inside and found himself in a narrow hallway that connected to the kitchen area. He could hear Mrs. Brown, the cook, working in the kitchen, but she could not see him from where she was. Marcus knew the layout of the house well from his previous inspections. He needed to get to the second floor where Lady Camilla's sitting room was located, but he had to be very careful not to let any of the servants see him. He waited until he heard Mrs. Brown go into the pantry. Then he quickly walked through the kitchen and into the main hallway. He could hear voices coming from upstairs. Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood were already meeting. Marcus climbed the stairs slowly, trying not to make any noise. The old wooden steps creaked slightly under his weight, but the voices from Lady Camilla's room were loud enough to cover the sound. When he reached the second floor, Marcus could hear the conversation clearly. They were in the sitting room, just as they had been the last time he overheard them. Marcus moved to the same position by the bedroom door, where he could hear but not be seen. Marcus turned on his small recording device and held it as close to the door as possible. "The vote is scheduled for next Thursday," Lord Blackwood was saying. "We need to make sure all our people are ready." "What about Lord Harrison?" Lady Camilla asked. "Did you speak to him about his daughter's business?" "Yes, I met with him yesterday," Lord Blackwood replied. "I offered to invest £2 million in his daughter's company. He was very grateful. He will vote with us. And Mrs. Fletcher? Her son's drunk driving case will be dismissed next week," Lord Blackwood said. "I spoke to the right people, and they agreed to make the problem disappear. Mrs. Fletcher will be very happy to support our bill." Marcus felt sick as he listened to them casually discuss bribing government officials. These people were treating corruption like it was just normal business. "What about the money transfers?" Lady Camilla asked. "Are the offshore accounts ready?" "Everything is prepared," Lord Blackwood said. "As soon as the bill passes, we can start moving money through the Cayman Islands Company. The government will never be able to trace it back to us." "How much will we make in the first year?" Lady Camilla asked. "I estimate at least £75 million, Lord Blackwood replied. "My construction company will get the contracts for the new highway projects. Your import businesses will save millions in taxes, and we will both get rich from the offshore investments." Marcus continued recording as they discussed more details of their plan. They talked about specific parliament members they had bribed and exactly how much money each person had been paid. They mentioned bank account numbers and the names of companies they were using to hide their illegal activities. After 20 minutes, Marcus had recorded enough evidence to prove the entire conspiracy. But as he started to move away from the door, he heard something that made him freeze. "What about the security guard who has been inspecting the house?" Lady Camilla asked. Marcus felt his heart start beating very fast. "What about him?" Lord Blackwood replied. "I am getting worried," Lady Camilla said. "He has been coming here for over a month. What if he discovers something?" "Do not worry about him," Lord Blackwood said. "I checked into his background. Captain Marcus Thornfield has been a loyal security guard for 12 years. He follows orders and does not ask questions. He is just doing routine security checks." Marcus was shocked to hear his own name. Lord Blackwood had investigated him. "But what if he sees something he should not see?" Lady Camilla asked. "What if he finds out about our meetings?" "Then we will have to deal with him," Lord Blackwood said. His voice sounded cold and dangerous. "We have too much at stake to let one security guard ruin our plans." "What do you mean, deal with him?" Lady Camilla asked. "I mean, we will find a way to stop him from talking." Lord Blackwood replied. "We could ruin his career. We could have him arrested for something he did not do. Or we could arrange for him to have an accident." Marcus felt a chill run down his back. These people were talking about destroying his life or even killing him if they discovered what he knew. "I do not want anyone to get hurt," Lady Camilla said. "Then we need to make sure he does not find out anything," Lord Blackwood replied. "I will have some of my people watch him. If he gets too close to discovering our secret, we will take action." Marcus realized he was in immediate danger. If Lord Blackwood was already having him watched, then someone might discover that he was in the house right now. Marcus turned off his recording device and put it in his pocket. He needed to get out of the house immediately. But as he started to move toward the stairs, he heard footsteps in the hallway below. Someone was coming up the stairs. Marcus looked around for a place to hide. The hallway was long and had several doors, but most of them probably led to bedrooms that would be locked. There was a large curtain covering a window at the end of the hallway. Marcus quickly moved behind the curtain and pressed himself against the wall. A few seconds later, Mr. Peterson appeared at the top of the stairs. He was carrying a tea tray with cups and a pot. The butler knocked on Lady Camilla's door. "Come in," Lady Camilla called. Mr. Peterson went into the sitting room with the tea. Marcus could hear him talking to Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood, but he could not understand what they were saying. After 5 minutes, Mr. Peterson came out of the room and went back downstairs. Marcus waited another few minutes to make sure the butler was gone. Then he came out from behind the curtain. Marcus walked quickly but quietly down the stairs. He could still hear Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood talking in the sitting room. He made it to the kitchen area without seeing any of the servants. Just as Marcus reached the door he had used to enter the house, he heard Mrs. Brown coming back into the kitchen. Marcus opened the door and stepped outside just before she would have seen him. Marcus walked through the woods to his car, trying to look casual in case anyone was watching. But inside he felt panicked. He had the evidence he needed to expose the conspiracy, but now he knew that Lord Blackwood was having him watched. If they discovered what he had learned, they would try to destroy him. As Marcus drove away from Hartwell Manor, he realized that his investigation had become a race against time. He needed to get his evidence to the authorities before Lord Blackwood's people discovered what he was doing. But Marcus also knew that he could not trust everyone in the government. If Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood could bribe Parliament members, they might also have corrupt people working in the police or security services. Marcus had to be very careful about who he gave his evidence to. One wrong decision could get him killed and allow the conspiracy to continue. Marcus drove home from Hartwell Manor with his hands shaking on the steering wheel. The recording device in his pocket contained enough evidence to expose Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood's conspiracy, but he now knew they were watching him. He had to be extremely careful about his next moves. When Marcus arrived at his apartment, he noticed a van parked across the street that he had never seen before. 2 men were sitting inside, and they seemed to be looking at his building. Marcus tried not to stare at them, but he was almost certain they were Lord Blackwood's people. Marcus parked his car and walked to his apartment building as normally as possible. Once inside, he went to his window and looked down at the street. The van was still there. The men inside were definitely watching his building. Marcus realized that Lord Blackwood had not been lying when he said he was having Marcus watched. They probably knew everywhere Marcus went and everyone he talked to. This made his situation much more dangerous. Marcus needed to get his evidence to someone in authority who could act on it quickly. But he could not use his phone to call anyone, because Lord Blackwood's people might be listening to his calls. He could not use his computer to send emails because they might be monitoring his internet activity. Marcus decided to make copies of his recording in case something happened to the original. He had an old cassette player in his closet that he had not used in years. He connected the recording device to the cassette player and made 3 copies of the conversation between Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood. Marcus hid 1 copy in his apartment, put 1 copy in his car, and kept the original recording device with him. If Lord Blackwood's people found 1 copy, Marcus would still have others. The next morning, Marcus went to work at the Royal Security Building as usual. He needed to act like everything was normal while he figured out how to safely report what he had discovered. When Marcus arrived at the office, he saw the same van from his apartment building parked near the security building. The men inside were still watching him. Marcus pretended not to notice them and went inside. Marcus thought about talking to Commander Williams immediately, but he was worried that other people in the security office might be corrupt. If Lord Blackwood could bribe Parliament members, he might also have people working for him in the security services. Instead, Marcus decided to do some research about Commander Williams. He used the office computer to look up the commander's background and service record. Marcus wanted to make sure Williams was honest before he trusted him with such dangerous information. After reading about Commander Williams for an hour, Marcus felt confident that the commander was trustworthy. Williams had been in security work for 25 years and had a reputation for being completely honest. He had never been involved in any scandals or corruption cases. Marcus also learned that Commander Williams had a contact in the National Crime Agency, which was the government department that investigated serious crimes like corruption and bribery. If Williams could pass Marcus's evidence to the crime agency, they might be able to act quickly to stop Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood. But Marcus still had the problem of how to talk to Commander Williams safely. If he went to the commander's office, other people might overhear their conversation. If he called Williams on the phone, Lord Blackwood's people might be listening. Marcus remembered that Commander Williams always ate lunch at a small cafe 2 blocks from the security building. The cafe was usually crowded and noisy, which would make it difficult for anyone to overhear a private conversation. At 12:30, Marcus walked to the cafe. He saw Commander Williams sitting at a table in the corner, eating a sandwich and reading a newspaper. Marcus bought a cup of coffee and went to Williams' table. "Commander, may I join you?" Marcus asked. Williams looked up from his newspaper. "Of course, Captain. How is your assignment at Hartwell Manor going?" Marcus sat down and leaned closer to Williams. He spoke quietly so no one else could hear. "Sir, I need to tell you something very important about that case. But I think we are being watched, and it might not be safe to talk here." Williams put down his newspaper and looked at Marcus carefully. "What do you mean?" "The threats against Lady Camilla are not real," Marcus said. "I have discovered that she is involved in a conspiracy to bribe Parliament members and steal government money. She and Lord Blackwood are working together." Williams looked shocked. "That is a very serious accusation, Captain. Do you have proof?" Marcus nodded. "I have recorded conversations between Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood. They talk about bribing specific Parliament members and moving money through offshore accounts. But I think they know that I discovered their secret, and they are having me watched." Williams looked around the cafe to see if anyone was paying attention to their conversation. "Where is this recording?" "I have copies in safe places," Marcus replied. "But we need to be very careful. Lord Blackwood said he would arrange for me to have an accident if I got too close to their plan." Williams was quiet for a moment, thinking about what Marcus had told him. "Captain, this is much bigger than our department can handle. If what you are saying is true, we need to involve the National Crime Agency immediately. Can you contact them safely?" Marcus asked. "Yes, I have a secure communication line that cannot be intercepted," Williams said. "Meet me in my office at 6 o'clock tonight after most people have gone home. Bring your evidence and we will contact the crime agency together." Marcus agreed and left the cafe. As he walked back to the office, he noticed the same van following him at a distance. Lord Blackwood's people were definitely watching his every move. The rest of the afternoon seemed to last forever. Marcus tried to do normal security work, but his mind kept thinking about the evening meeting with Commander Williams. He was worried that something would go wrong before he could get his evidence to the crime agency. At 5:30, Marcus saw most of his colleagues leaving the office for the day. The building became quiet except for a few security guards who worked the night shift. At exactly 6 o'clock, Marcus went to Commander Williams' office. The commander was waiting for him with a secure telephone that looked different from the regular office phones. "Do you have the recording, Captain?" Williams asked. Marcus took the original recording device from his pocket and handed it to Williams. "Everything is on here, sir. You can hear them discussing specific bribes and money amounts." Williams connected the recording device to his secure phone system. "I am going to play this for Agent Sarah Mitchell at the National Crime Agency. She specializes in government corruption cases." Williams dialed a number and waited for someone to answer. "Agent Mitchell, this is Commander Williams at Royal Security. I have Captain Thornfield here with me, and we need to report a serious corruption case involving Parliament members." Marcus could hear a woman's voice on the other end of the phone, but he could not understand what she was saying. "We have recorded evidence of bribery and conspiracy," Williams continued. "Can you hear us clearly on the secure line?" "Good. I am going to play the recording for you now." Williams pressed the play button on Marcus's recording device. Lady Camilla's voice came through the speakers, followed by Lord Blackwood's voice discussing their bribes and offshore accounts. Agent Mitchell listened to the entire recording without saying anything. When it finished, she spoke. "This is extremely serious evidence. We need to act immediately before they can destroy documents or leave the country. What do you want us to do?" Williams asked. Keep Captain Thornfield safe, Agent Mitchell replied. If they suspect he knows about their plan, his life could be in danger. We will begin surveillance of Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood immediately, and we will prepare arrest warrants. How long will that take? Williams asked. We can have teams in place by tomorrow morning, Agent Mitchell said. But Captain Thornfield needs to stay away from Hartwell Manor and anywhere else these people might see him. After Williams ended the call, he looked at Marcus seriously. Captain, you have done excellent work, but you are in real danger now. I want you to go home and stay there until Agent Mitchell calls us. Do not go anywhere alone and call me immediately if you see anything suspicious. Marcus felt relieved that the evidence was now in the hands of the crime agency, but he was also scared about what might happen next. As he left the office building, he saw the same van still parked outside. Lord Blackwood's people were still watching him, and they had no idea that the police were about to arrest their bosses. Marcus knew that the next 24 hours would determine whether Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood would be stopped, or whether they would discover that their conspiracy had been exposed and try to escape or hurt him. Marcus had a sleepless night in his apartment. Every few hours he looked out his window to check if the van was still parked across the street. The men were still there watching his building. Marcus knew that Lord Blackwood's people were waiting for him to make a mistake so they could find out how much he knew about the conspiracy. At 7 in the morning, Marcus's phone rang. It was Commander Williams. Captain, Agent Mitchell wants to meet with you immediately, Williams said. But we need to be very careful. The people watching you must not know that you are meeting with the crime agency. How do I get to the meeting without them following me? Marcus asked. There's a service entrance at the back of your apartment building, Williams replied. At 8 o'clock, go down to the basement and exit through that door. Agent Mitchell will be waiting in a blue car in the alley behind your building. Marcus looked out his window one more time. The van was still there. He gathered his copies of the recorded evidence and prepared to leave through the back of the building. At exactly 8 o'clock, Marcus went down to the basement and found the service entrance. He opened the door carefully and looked outside. There was a blue car parked in the alley with a woman in the driver's seat. Marcus walked quickly to the car and got in the passenger side. The woman was about 40 years old with short brown hair and serious eyes. She wore a dark suit and looked like someone who was used to dealing with dangerous criminals. Captain Thornfield, I am Agent Mitchell, she said as she started driving. Thank you for bringing this evidence to our attention. Your recording has given us everything we need to arrest Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood. When will you arrest them? Marcus asked. This morning, Agent Mitchell replied. We have teams positioned around Hartwell Manor and Lord Blackwood's office building. We also have officers ready to arrest the Parliament members who took bribes. Agent Mitchell drove to a government building that Marcus had never seen before. They went inside and took an elevator to the 5th floor. The hallway was full of police officers and crime agency agents preparing for the arrests. Agent Mitchell led Marcus to a conference room where Commander Williams was waiting with several other officials. There were maps of Hartwell Manor on the table, along with photographs of Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood. Captain Thornfield, said a man in an expensive suit. I am Director James Harrison from the crime agency. Your evidence has exposed one of the largest corruption scandals in recent history. Marcus was surprised to hear that the director had the same last name as Lord Harrison, one of the Parliament members that Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood had bribed. Director Harrison saw the confused look on Marcus's face. Yes, Captain, Lord Harrison is my brother. When Agent Mitchell told me about the evidence, I realized why my brother has been acting strange lately. He has been worried and nervous for weeks, but he would not tell me what was wrong. Will you arrest him too? Marcus asked. Yes, Director Harrison replied sadly. Even though he is my brother, he took bribes and voted illegally. He will have to face the consequences of his actions. Agent Mitchell looked at her watch. The arrest teams are ready to move. Captain Thornfield, we need you to go to Hartwell Manor with us in case we need you to identify voices or explain what you saw. Marcus felt nervous about returning to the manor, but he knew it was his duty to help finish the case. He got into Agent Mitchell's car along with 2 other crime agency agents. As they drove toward Hartwell Manor, Agent Mitchell explained the arrest plan. We have teams surrounding the house and Lord Blackwood's office. At exactly 10 o'clock, we will move in simultaneously so neither of them can warn the other. When they arrived near Hartwell Manor, Marcus could see police cars hidden behind trees and in the woods around the house. There were at least 20 officers positioned to make sure Lady Camilla could not escape. At 10 o'clock exactly, Marcus watched as police officers walked up to the front door of the manor. Agent Mitchell was with them, along with several other agents. They rang the doorbell and Mr. Peterson answered the door. Marcus could not hear what was being said, but he could see Mr. Peterson's shocked expression when Agent Mitchell showed him the arrest warrant. The butler stepped aside and let the officers into the house. A few minutes later, the officers came out with Lady Camilla in handcuffs. She looked angry and scared. She was wearing the same kind of expensive clothes she always wore, but now she looked like a common criminal. At the same time, Marcus heard on Agent Mitchell's radio that Lord Blackwood had been arrested at his office. The radio also reported that Lord Harrison, Mrs. Fletcher, and 2 other Parliament members had been arrested at their homes. Agent Mitchell came back to the car where Marcus was waiting. "Lady Camilla is demanding to speak to her lawyer," she said. "But she also wants to know how we found out about her meetings with Lord Blackwood." "What did you tell her?" Marcus asked. "Nothing yet," Agent Mitchell replied. "But she will find out eventually that you were the one who exposed their conspiracy." "Are you prepared for that?" Marcus thought about what Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood might do to him if they ever got out of jail. But he also thought about all the money they had stolen and all the government officials they had corrupted. "I am prepared," Marcus said. "They needed to be stopped." Agent Mitchell drove Marcus back to the government building where he spent the rest of the day giving detailed statements about everything he had seen and heard. He had to describe each of his visits to Hartwell Manor, explain how he discovered the conspiracy, and identify voices on the recordings. Late in the afternoon, Agent Mitchell told Marcus that Lady Camilla wanted to speak to him. "She says she wants to explain her side of the story," Agent Mitchell said. "You do not have to talk to her if you do not want to." Marcus was curious about what Lady Camilla might say, so he agreed to the meeting. Agent Mitchell led him to an interview room where Lady Camilla was sitting at a table with her lawyer. Lady Camilla looked different without her expensive jewelry and perfect makeup. She looked older and more ordinary. When she saw Marcus, her face showed a mixture of anger and desperation. "Captain Thornfield," she said, "you have ruined everything I worked for. Do you understand what you have done?" Marcus sat down across from her. "I understand that I stopped you from stealing millions of pounds and corrupting the government." Lady Camilla laughed bitterly. "You think you are a hero? You have no idea how the real world works. Everyone in government takes money and makes deals. Edmund and I were just better at it than most people." "That does not make it right," Marcus replied. "Right?" Lady Camilla said. "I will tell you what is right. I am going to make sure you pay for what you have done to me. I have friends who are not in jail yet. They will make your life very difficult." Lady Camilla's lawyer put his hand on her arm to stop her from talking, but she continued. "You will never feel safe again, Captain. I promise you that." Agent Mitchell stood up. "That is enough. Lady Camilla, you are already facing charges for bribery and conspiracy. Do not make things worse by threatening a witness." As Marcus left the interview room, he felt both satisfied and worried. Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood would go to jail for their crimes, but Lady Camilla's threats reminded him that this case might not be completely over. That evening, Commander Williams called Marcus at home. "Captain, the arrest operation was a complete success. We recovered millions of pounds in illegal money and arrested 15 people involved in the conspiracy." "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "There will be a long investigation and trial," Williams replied. "You will probably have to testify in court about what you discovered. But for now, you have done your job, and you should be proud of what you accomplished." After Marcus hung up the phone, he looked out his window. The van that had been watching his building was gone. Lord Blackwood's people were probably too busy with their own legal problems to worry about Marcus anymore. But Marcus could not forget Lady Camilla's threats. He knew that even though she was in jail, she might still have friends who could cause trouble for him. The case was solved, but Marcus's life would never be quite the same again. 6 months had passed since the arrests at Hartwell Manor. Marcus had spent many days in courtrooms testifying about what he had seen and heard during his investigation. The trial had been front-page news in every newspaper in the country. Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood were both found guilty of bribery, conspiracy, and money laundering. Lady Camilla was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Lord Blackwood received 15 years because he had been the leader of the conspiracy. The parliament members who took bribes were also sentenced to prison terms ranging from 3 to 8 years. The government recovered over £60 million that had been stolen through the conspiracy. The money was returned to the Treasury and used for schools and hospitals instead of making Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood rich. Marcus was sitting in his new office reading the final report about the case. After the trial ended, Commander Williams had recommended Marcus for promotion. Marcus was now Inspector Thornfield, and he was in charge of a team of investigators who worked on corruption cases. But the promotion had come with a price. Marcus had to move to a different city for his new job, because Agent Mitchell was worried about his safety. Even though Lady Camilla was in prison, she still had friends and business associates who might try to hurt Marcus for exposing the conspiracy. Marcus's new apartment was in a city 200 miles away from Hartwell Manor. He had a different name on his mailbox and an unlisted phone number. Only a few people knew where he lived. Marcus often thought about the case that had changed his life. He had started as a simple security guard doing routine inspections, but he had ended up exposing one of the biggest corruption scandals in the country's history. Sometimes Marcus wondered what would have happened if he had not overheard that first conversation between Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood. They might have continued their conspiracy for years, bribing more officials and stealing more money. The democratic process would have been corrupted, and ordinary citizens would have suffered. Marcus's phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was Agent Mitchell, Inspector Thornfield, she said. I have some news about Lady Camilla. Marcus felt worried. What happened? Nothing bad, Agent Mitchell said quickly. But you should know that she tried to contact you last week. She sent a letter to your old address. The Postal Service forwarded it to us because we have been monitoring her mail. What did the letter say? Marcus asked. She wanted to apologize, Agent Mitchell replied. She said that prison had given her time to think about what she had done wrong. She said she understood why you had to report her conspiracy and she did not blame you anymore. Marcus was surprised. Do you think she really means it? Maybe, Agent Mitchell said. Prison changes some people, but we are still monitoring her communications, and we will continue to keep your location secret until we are sure it is safe. After Marcus hung up the phone, he thought about Lady Camilla's letter. He was glad that she might have learned from her mistakes, but he was not ready to trust her yet. He had seen how good she was at lying and pretending to be someone she was not. Marcus looked at the files on his desk. He was working on 3 new corruption cases involving government officials and business owners. The work was similar to his investigation of Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood, but now he had a team of agents helping him. One case involved a mayor who was taking bribes from construction companies. Another case was about a judge who was changing court decisions in exchange for money. The third case concerned a group of police officers who were protecting drug dealers. Marcus had learned that corruption was much more common than he had realized when he was a simple security guard. There were dishonest people in every part of the government, from small towns to Parliament. His job was to find them and stop them before they could cause too much damage. But Marcus had also learned that most people in government were honest and wanted to do the right thing. Commander Williams, Agent Mitchell, and Director Harrison had all risked their careers to help expose the conspiracy. The judges and prosecutors who handled the trial had been fair and honest. Marcus's secretary knocked on his office door. "Inspector, there is someone here to see you. He says it is about the Hartwell Manor case." Marcus felt nervous. Very few people knew about his connection to that case, and even fewer people knew where his new office was located. "Who is it?" Marcus asked. "He says his name is David Peterson," the secretary replied. Marcus remembered that name. Mr. Peterson had been the head butler at Hartwell Manor. Marcus wondered why he would come to see him. "Send him in," Marcus said. A few minutes later, Mr. Peterson walked into Marcus's office. He looked older and more tired than Marcus remembered. He was not wearing his formal butler's uniform. Instead, he wore ordinary clothes like a regular citizen. "Inspector Thornfield," Mr. Peterson said. "Thank you for agreeing to see me." Marcus gestured for him to sit down. "What can I do for you, Mr. Peterson?" "I wanted to thank you for what you did," Mr. Peterson said. "And I wanted to apologize for my part in Lady Camilla's conspiracy." Marcus was confused. "What do you mean?" Mr. Peterson looked down at his hands. I knew that Lady Camilla was meeting secretly with Lord Blackwood. I knew that her schedule was false, and I helped her by letting Lord Blackwood into the house when she was supposed to be away. Why did you help her? Marcus asked. Lady Camilla paid me extra money to keep quiet about the meetings, Mr. Peterson replied. She told me they were planning a business deal and needed to meet secretly so their competitors would not find out. Mr. Peterson looked up at Marcus. I did not know they were bribing Parliament members or stealing money. I thought it was just business. But I should have asked more questions. I should have been suspicious when Lady Camilla started lying about her schedule. Marcus understood why Mr. Peterson felt guilty. What happened to you after Lady Camilla was arrested? I lost my job, of course, Mr. Peterson said. The Hartwell family did not want me to work for them anymore after they found out I had helped with the conspiracy. It has been hard to find new work because other wealthy families do not trust me. I am sorry, Marcus said, but you did the right thing by testifying at the trial. Mr. Peterson nodded. I told the truth about what I knew. It was the least I could do after making such a big mistake. Mr. Peterson stood up to leave. Inspector, I wanted you to know that you are a hero to many people. The servants at Hartwell Manor always respected you because you were polite and professional. When we found out that you had exposed Lady Camilla's crimes, we were proud that we had met you. After Mr. Peterson left, Marcus thought about what he had said. Marcus had never considered himself a hero. He had just been doing his job as a security guard. But he realized that sometimes doing your job the right way, even when it is difficult or dangerous, is exactly what makes someone a hero. Marcus looked out the window of his office. In the distance, he could see the government building where Agent Mitchell worked. Somewhere in the city, there were honest police officers, judges, and politicians working to serve the public. But there were also corrupt officials planning new schemes to steal money and abuse their power. Marcus's job was to find them and stop them, just as he had stopped Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood. Marcus opened the file for his next case and began to read. A city councilman was suspected of taking bribes from a gambling company. The evidence was not very strong yet, but Marcus would investigate carefully and patiently until he found the truth. As he worked, Marcus thought about the lesson he had learned from the Hartwell Manor case. Sometimes the most important discoveries come from paying attention to small details that do not seem right. A schedule that does not match reality, servants who notice changes in their employer's behavior, 2 coffee cups in a room where only one person is supposed to be. Marcus had learned to trust his instincts when something seemed wrong, even if he could not prove it immediately. This skill had helped him expose a major conspiracy, and it would help him solve future cases. The sun was setting outside Marcus's office window. He had been working for 10 hours, but he did not feel tired. He felt satisfied knowing that his work was making the government more honest and protecting ordinary citizens from corrupt officials. Marcus closed the file and prepared to go home to his new apartment. Tomorrow he would continue his investigation of the city councilman. There would always be more cases, more corrupt people to catch, and more honest citizens to protect. But tonight Marcus would rest knowing that he had done his duty and served his country well. The case of Lady Camilla and Lord Blackwood was over, but Marcus's career as a corruption investigator was just beginning.